Swag out them boss. Look, is that bow tie paisley? Ah, you're a killer.
What's going on, guys? Webster out here, the man, the voice, the fragrance, here with the creator, publisher, Homebrew Comics himself, Christopher Michael. Christopher, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very well. I'm looking at the Homebrew site, and you guys are really prolific in what you're doing. Tell us some more about, just tell the audience in general about what is it? Keep running into trouble. How did that come
Constantly
about?
running into trouble.
Constantly running into trouble.
Yep, constantly running into trouble.
Yes.
So if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you understand that that's pretty much all you do is constantly run into trouble.
Right.
And the entire comic book is based off of a homebrewed D&D campaign.
Okay. Awesome. So how long has this been going on?
Well, the campaign has run since 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've moved into a new iteration of C.R.I.T. It takes we've actually finished the C.R.I.T. story. We're doing a new story now. But we're still playing every month. Actually, that was before I got on. I had to confirm next Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. The C.R.I.T. story is roughly about 42 issues. It took us right at 4 or 5 years. We've been playing. Yeah, it was 4 years that we played C.R.I.T. consecutively, and now we've moved into a futuristic setting, but it still takes place in the same universe, and it's the same chaos there. Good thing, what I loved about C.R.I.T. and why it became a comic was because it was never supposed to be a comic. It was originally just me and my friends hanging out playing D&D. We hadn't played in 10 years as a group, and I just had this idea for superhero D&D, and we had talked about it years and years ago, but it was never something we could figure out how to balance properly. And of course I had nothing else to do, so I figured it out. And I called them. I said, hey, it's been like 10 years, do you guys want to play? Some of them hadn't even talked in 10 years, so not that we weren't friends. It was just, became adults, kids, wives,
Yes, I understand.
life. So we got together, and after the first session, one of the guys called me and said, was that weird? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I haven't talked or hung out with you guys in 10 years. And I'm like, no, it wasn't weird at all. I had a blast. Did you have a blast? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what friends do. Just because you're not around each other every day doesn't mean you're not friends anymore. And it was really cool because this game that turned into a comic book, which also turned into, now we get together more because of the game and the comic than we did in the 10 years after we were together every day. So the comic's done quite a bit. The game did quite a bit for our friendship, which is awesome. And then, of course, it turns into a story that people actually want to see for some reason. Right. I was asked the other day, so what did you think after issue 1 was going to happen? And I just thought I was going to put an issue out and it was going to be fun and we were going to move on to the next thing. And then someone said, well, where's the next issue? And I was like, well, I guess I need to do the next issue.
Right.
And now we're 8 issues in, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
That's awesome. I find that, especially now where you are with your current endeavors, is this love of D&D, and you got the band back together after 10 years. Really this one sort of commonality, and obviously your friends. Period. You don't need that, but it brought you guys together. You started bonding again, and from that friendship was birthed this campaign, which became a comic, and now in some respects you're coming full circle because now you have this tabletop game that is coming out. So tell us about that. How did that come from all of this?
The original idea was to put out a 5th edition module, like a D&D 5th edition module based on what we were doing. That turned into the comic. By accident. Everything is by accident. There is no, I woke up one day and said I want to be a comic book creator. I just drew the comic first, and then they were like, well, hey, instead of doing the module, let's just go ahead and release the comic, and then we'll do the module afterward, and they'll be tied together. So I think it was issue 4 or 5, I released the beta for the game. Right after that, Wizards of the Coast, who owns Dungeons and Dragons, started this whole mess with their rule set.
I remember, yes. A lot
Yeah,
of people were upset about that. Yes.
Well, I immediately, I at the time I was in distribution for board games, and Wizards was a client, and so was Paizo and these other tabletop, game companies. So I had connections with a lot of these people, and I called Paizo, who the people at Paizo originally worked for D&D, like they were some of the original creators. So their rule set is very, very similar to, D&D. I shot him an email. I said, hey, I want to translate what I have into Pathfinder, Starfinder stuff. And is that something that I'm allowed to do? Because I've never dealt with them before. And their head of marketing just called me, and he was like, yeah. He goes, I talk to you all the time. You're cool. And let me know what you need. They have a whole entire setup for it. And they, once we get it done, I can put it on there. Problem is, I work full time, sometimes 2 jobs in the summer. Uh, you got family stuff, and then on top of it, I've got to draw 42 books. Right. So translating the game now has gone to the back burner for the time being, but the core is done. I put about 500 hours into that, and then I had to redo it. But it's not hard to translate. It's just a matter of having the time, and really, with the amount of Comic Cons and stuff that I do, having more comics available is a little bit more important than the right. D&D side at this time. But the goal at the very end, when C.R.I.T is done, is to have the game released, and I want this world setting to where people can take our game, play their own version, and even submit some of these stories online and help build our world out. I'm a huge fan of early Star Wars, and I loved that George Lucas allowed other people to just play in his sandbox. Right. And they would submit stories. That's how we got a lot of the great stories we had. I understand they're not canon now, but they're stories right. I grew up on, and some of them I was reading and found out that they didn't exist prior to someone just saying, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah. So that was one of the beauty of the Dark Horse run, like all of the Dark Horse stuff and a lot of the novels, that so much was just done creatively from what George Lucas did. So I totally understand that point of view, because it really bears a lot of fruit, and a lot of interesting ideas come from that as well.
Yeah, when you open it up to more creative people, you get some chaos, and it's D&D, so I'm gonna have to filter it, but you do get some quality content. And one thing that I've learned from the comic community, from the indie community, people have characters, but they don't have settings. Right. And I know creating a world and creating a setting and creating rules on how that world works is very hard. So if I can provide a sandbox for someone to tell a story, and I think that'd be really cool.
Makes sense, and I agree with that. As someone who has just dabbled with things over the years, that it is a lot easier to create a character or a set of circumstances than creating a whole world. And if you're able to just plop your characters into your already established world, a lot of people will really like that opportunity.
Yeah, I actually have met a few guys very recently, and they're like, hey, this is my character. And I'm like, well, tell me about your story. Well, I don't really have a story for him yet. I got to work on that. Well, have you built your world out? No. And I know from experience that is hard. It is not easy to build a world. Now, luckily, I built mine around modern day. Mm-hmm. So, well, it starts in 2019 because that's when we started playing. I just modified some of our history and some of those things to make it fit the narrative that I was telling. One thing you won't find in my stories are I stay away from anything real world, right? I come from the idea that entertainment is an escape for a lot of people, and I feel like most recently, we've missed out on escapism. So I want to give that, and that's something we all agreed upon in the very beginning. They even asked, they said, hey, if we're doing modern day, leave all the junk out, because this is 2019, 2020. They're like, leave all that stuff out. We see it enough on Facebook. We see it on the news. One of our guys, he's a police officer. He's like, I deal with this stuff every day.
Right, makes
I
sense.
don't want to come in and play D&D and deal with real world events. So everything's fictional as far as storyline. It just, for someone to understand how our world works, if you walk outside and the wind blows, same thing happens in this world. So there's just a couple people running around that can shoot fireballs and punch holes in walls.
Okay. All right. So I have a question. You say you have, remember correctly, plans for 42 issues of Crit?
Yes.
Okay. So you said you have 8 done. How long does it take you to produce one issue?
By myself, it's 3,000 hours. But I have a colorist now who is taking over some of the work to help out. I did one book by myself from start to finish just to see how much it would take. And saves me money, but completely destroys any of my productivity. So Lewis is now coloring for me. He's doing a great job. And he will be on as long as he wants. So him and I get along great. And he brings... So I'm a huge 90s fan. I love 90s colors, comics, everything about the 90s. There are some modern people out there that I really enjoy, but I got into it in the 90s, and Lewis grew his coach used to work for Extreme Colors. So he knows all those the original, coloring style that I fell in love with, and it's translating very well with my art. So really, really honestly, like, this book that's on Kickstarter right now, I am more excited about this than I am the one that I released by myself. It's very cool to see how it come to life.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about the 90s and the colors, because that is something when I went to the website and I started looking at the books, that is something I picked up on. As somebody as well who got into comics in the 90s, those colors, those just where everything pops. Yeah, I definitely picked up on that. So that's awesome. So tell us, the Kickstarter is Crit Robo Renaissance.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about that.
So this picks up directly after the events in issue 6. The team is searching for this very elusive villain. They don't know anything about them other than the name Goblin King, and that they've been able to track some of the... So they have a tech guy. Tech guy is able to track, where some of these transmissions have come from. They've figured out where the lair is. And if you've played D&D, it is a dungeon dive. Right. We hadn't done one in Crit since like the first game we played. I did a dungeon crawl, because if you play D&D, you got to have a dungeon crawl. Right. It's the easiest thing you can do to begin with. So I did that. And when I was going into preparing for this game, I said, well, I want a dungeon crawl, but I want it to be like Labyrinth, and I want it to be like taking Ninja Turtles and Scooby-Doo and mashing it all together. So that's where a lot of the storyline comes from, and unmask the villain kind of thing.
Right.
Again, my books are very tongue-in-cheek, supposed to be dumb fun. There's lots of modern references all over the place. So keeping with the theme of write what you know. And so if I made something that everyone felt comfortable with, I knew the game would flow well, and it does. And of course, every idiot move I thought they would make, they pretty much did. And the book reflects everything. So I want everyone to understand that when they read the book, they're seeing everything that happened at our table. It's all pre-recorded. I spend a month listening to all the recordings before it even goes to sketching. And then I storyboard and I start drawing. So it's all verbatim what happens in the game.
Fascinating. That's such an amazing premise to write a comic. That's awesome.
Well, it also allows every character to have life. You know, when you read any beginning writer, it is hard to write a character that isn't part of you.
Right.
So if I were to write every one of these characters, there would be a piece of me in every single one of them,
Right.
and you'd have tendencies that blend together.
Right.
None of mine do. They're all based off that person's actions, that person's personality. So you don't get any of me in any of them. It's them, which I love. You know, it's hard to find a book where you have 5 or 6 different personalities and they all shine. And these guys do a really good job of role playing. So I try to make sure that shines. And if they don't do well role playing, it shines as well. And then they're like, "Man, I sucked in that book." Yeah, you did. Actually, I just drew a panel on for the comic, and I was listening through the session, and one of the characters got a crit, like a critical roll. And we don't get to really show a lot of like massive damage, but they're fighting these little goblin robots. And so the critical on him was absurd. So I got to show like this big panel of just bones destroying this thing. And I'm in my head, I'm picturing how the dialogue's gonna go. Like the sound effect is probably gonna go like critical boom or something like that. Mm-hmm. So when somebody sees it, like that plays D&D, I want them to understand that he got a crit. And that's why this thing is just like blown to smithereens. That's the stuff I put in there. So if you're not a D&D player, it's never going to turn you away. Like you don't have to know D&D to read our story.
Right.
But if you do know D&D, there's subtle hints here and there that you pick up on. You're like, oh, that's a D&D reference. That's cool.
That's awesome. That's really amazing. I think that definitely is an excellent way of really breathing life into your characters because they actually are alive.
Yes. I could call them right now and you would hear all their personalities. And I figured it out early on that we were onto something. It was issue 2 came out and I was well into issue 3 and I got a phone call from Terrell, who is Boulder in real life. And he goes, "Hey, my wife was at work today and one of her coworkers was saying that he was reading a comic book and there's a character that reminded him of me." And his wife immediately was like, "What book are you reading?" And he goes, "It's this book called Crit." And he had checked it out online or got it somehow. I don't know. None of us knew him. It was a person that she worked with. No one that we interacted with. Like, I couldn't tell you who this person was.
Right.
And she was like, "Oh, do you mean Boulder?" And he goes, "Yeah, how did you know?" She's like, "That is my husband." And he's like, "So we do such a good job of getting our personalities in the book that someone that knew me that did not know I was in a comic book said, 'Oh, this reminds me of my friend.'"
That's amazing.
Yeah, that right there was like, okay, I'm onto something here. Like, if we can get personalities to shine through in comic form, it's one thing if you have acting and voices and things, but you're in a comic form. Oh, that hard-headed guy right there reminds me of Terrell.
Right.
Terrell would do that.
Amazing. That's real, and it also proves, and it's something I've realized as well. I'm pretty sure as well, especially once you start getting into creative spaces, it is a very small world, and you never realize how connected you are to people, how something you do influence or impact somebody who is in your circle and you didn't even know it.
The book has had a lot of impact on us. Like I said, our friendship is stronger, and there's days when they just suck. Like, you know, we have like bad days.
Right.
And I remember a situation where I had gotten a bunch of fan art of one of our characters, and in real life he was going through a lot. You know, he had a divorce and other things going on, and I sent him the fan art and I said, "Hey, you got a bunch of people like your character. Here's a bunch of fan art." And he calls me and he's like, "Man, I was having a really, really bad day. Like, I was just so down, and it's just so cool that people are taking time to draw my character. They like my character that much that they're spending their time drawing him. And he goes, that just made my day so much better. So this little side thing that I was working on, as you know, I do tell people I did not know how to draw before this comic. I taught myself how to do this from day one. I'm still learning things. I have an art editor that rips me apart on a daily basis because I want to create something that people like. And so this thing that wasn't supposed to be a thing now has such a big impact on all of us. And it means a lot when someone comes up, especially like I'm at Heroes Con. It costs anywhere from $30 to $70 for tickets there.
Right.
And a guy walks right up to our table and he said, I got that, I got that, I got that, and I just came here for that. And I said, you came here just for this? He's like, yeah, I'm going to shop around, but this is my first spot because that's what I want. And he wanted a stuffed Samedi doll, one of our drinking, smoking, talking cat. He smokes cigars and drinks rum, and this guy really wanted the cat. And in my head, I'm like, this guy could have gone online and ordered it, or waited for the Kickstarter. He knew I was at Heroes Con, came to Heroes Con, and I was his first stop. Like, that hit me really, really hard because I'm just some dude that plays D&D and turns it into a comic book, and here's a guy planning his day to come get one of my characters. That's the best thing that I could ever get out of this.
I look, I'm that sort of guy too. I'm at the time this recording, I'm going to BlurCon this weekend, and even though I'm covering it, there are people that I've met over the years that I'm like, I'll hit you up. I'm going to hit you up. Like, I'm specifically going because I know I'm going to personally, even though it was a colleague of mine, I saw her at Fan Expo. I didn't come there to buy, but I'm like, you coming to BlurCon? All right, what you got new? Make sure you hold this for me and I'll come pick it up then. So I totally understand that. And especially when you really find creators that you like, you want to constantly support them. And honestly, you want to go out of your way a bit to support them as well. Because like you said, it's easy, but I'm pretty sure that may have been the only time he would have gotten a chance to meet you, just even to meet you guys and to come out and say hello and to thank you and tell somebody how much you really enjoy their work. I personally love to do that. So I totally understand that.
I come from a music background. I was actually a professional musician for 6 years. I played back in the emo metal days of early 2000s. MySpace metal is what I called it. And I played Warped Tour, and we had fans, toured the country, did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And those feelings are great. It's really cool to have people say, we love your music. I was a guitarist in a band. I didn't sing the lyrics. I never wrote the lyrics. So it's cool you like my song. When people take time to read, listening to music and reading comic books are two different things.
Yes.
You can put music on the background. You can enjoy the beat. You can get into it, and that's cool. And I'm never going to not be thankful for the people that supported my band. But when people read the comic and they like a character and they get attached to that character, and that's my character. Right. That is something that just, it's a feeling I can't really describe because it's very surreal. That's just my creation. That's just something that was in my head. I put on paper, and now people want more of it. That's really cool. There's been a lot of instances, lately, after 8 books, I guess, you start to make an impact on people, and getting those people that come by and say, hey, when is Caliber and Boulder? When are they going to come to a con? I'd love to meet them. Right. And I'm like, well, I got to con them into it because they really don't like coming to Comic-Con. It's just a lot of busyness for them. Right. I got one of them to say that they'll come. So Caliber may appear at a Comic-Con someday. He finally said he'll do it.
So with that, when's your next scheduled convention?
Tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm going to be at Congregate in Winston-Salem the next 3 days.
Okay.
And then I've got AtlanticCon, that new one, that 2 day.
Oh, okay. Yep. I may come down to that one. So hopefully if I do, I'll be able to meet you in person.
Cool. Yeah, I'll be there. And then after that, I will be at New York Comic Con, but I'll be there as a vendor. I'll be working it, but I'll have a backpack, so
Gotcha.
I will have my comics. I had an opportunity to work for a company, and they were like, "Yeah, my buddy he does a bunch of stuff for Heroes and Villains, and so I'm going to work their booth and promote my comic at the same time." He was like, "Yeah, just bring your stuff. It's cool. Have a backpack. Have fun."
Sounds like a good deal to me.
So much cheaper than tabling. I'm actually
Yeah.
there. So, and then I just secured the yes for NC, like Durham Con. It's like NC Comic Con, North Carolina Comic Con.
Okay.
It's in Durham, North Carolina in November.
Okay.
I've got a lot. Yeah, there's a whole ton I'm doing this year. And I've got South Carolina Junior Comic Con that we're doing in October. So that will be at all those. Busy year.
Okay. Sounds good. So tell everybody where, first of all, they can find Crit Robo Renaissance and then just the rest of the line at Homebrew.
So the easiest way to find Robo Renaissance is go to my website, homebrewedcomics.com, and just click the link. It's right on the landing page, takes you right to the Kickstarter. And I'm actually going to try and fix it today where you can search CRIT, C.R.I.T. Right now you have to search C.I.T., and that's annoying. So I'm going to see if Kickstarter will allow me to adjust the title without the period so it shows up. This is the first one I've done with the periods, and I'm an idiot because it ruins the search algorithm. So easiest way, direct link, go to my website, homebrewedcomics.com. While you're there, if you want to check it out without any worries, you can download issue 0 for absolutely free. Free download, check it out, see if it's your thing. If it is, cool, back the Kickstarter. You can get everything. Every book that I've written is on the Kickstarter. There's a bunch of other cool stuff like toys, and I got an action figure on this one.
Nice.
Actually. So this right here is on there. It's a fully posable Bones action figure.
Nice.
And there's a metal cover of a Youngblood #1 homage that was done with all Crit characters. And very stoked for that one. That cover just is my favorite one. Sorry to the rest of them. I'm sure they understand. And
look, Youngblood #1's a pretty iconic cover, so I totally understand that.
Youngblood and Spawn were like my two favorite comics. I loved Youngblood a little bit more because I always liked team books.
Right.
I'm very much a team like book reader. I liked I'm a big fan of Batman, if you can't tell. Batman's fun, but Batman was my first superhero, my first comic, like not my first comic, but my first superhero, my first birthday cake, movies, all that. Love Batman. But when I pick up a book, I've always loved team books because you get so many different personalities and interactions. With a single hero book, it's always what is the hero doing next, or what's the hero, you have like supporting characters, but with a team, you've got a lot of main characters, and they all have, how's that dynamic work? And I'm one of 11 kids. So like growing up was a big giant team for me, So
I understood, yeah.
Always loved Youngblood. And so having that cover was a blessing. Mo Lubison did the cover for me, and it just came out great. So definitely go check it out. Homebrewedcomics.com. I've made all the price points very affordable because, when you're spending $10 on a loaf of bread, you don't want to spend $10 on a comic book. So.
Right. Well, Chris, thank you very much. Hopefully I get to meet you soon, but you guys make sure you check it out. Homebrewed Comics. All the links flashed while we were talking. If you weren't paying attention, rewind it or check the show notes below. Again, thank you for your time, you guys. We'll have more for you. Stay tuned. We'll check you later.
Well, swag out them boss. Look.